received an electronic bill in the mail. My husband transfers 30,000 yuan to the same person every month without interruption. The first transfer was 2 years ago when we had just lost our first child. At this time, the WeChat notification sounded. There was a friend request with the note, "A happy woman with 30,000 yuan in pocket money every month." I was unusually calm. I stroked my belly and clicked accept. The other party sent a message. "Have you received the bill?" I ignored this message. I went straight to her moments. The earliest photo was taken on April 21st, 2 years ago. The woman gently lay on the man's shoulder, holding a huge pigeon egg diamond ring. On the man's shoulder, the caption was, "Thank you for my birthday gift." Although the man in the photo only had a back view, I knew at a glance that it was my husband, Gavin, because the shirt was a gift I brought back for him when I was on a business trip, and there was a complicated dark embroidery on the collar. On April 21st, 2 years ago, I lost my first child. When I was undergoing a curettage in the cold operating room of the hospital, I claimed that my husband, on a business trip, was celebrating another woman's birthday. How ridiculous. I continued to scroll the screen with shaking hands. The woman started to show off all kinds of luxury goods from that time, and unfortunately, I had the same items except for a jasmine perfume. The top moments pinned a recent ultrasound report. She was pregnant. I put down my phone and frantically searched the laundry basket at home. I found the shirt that Gavin had changed last night. When I put it to my nose, the warm scent of jasmine wafted out. I never used perfume. Perhaps the person on the other end of the phone couldn't wait any longer. Because they couldn't wait for a response, the phone started ringing wildly and pictures and videos were sent to me all at once. I held my stomach and sat down with difficulty, holding my breath and looking at the evidence that recorded Gavin's betrayal of me. The woman in the photo was young and beautiful, and her high ponytail was smart. There were photos of Gavin and her boating on the lake, photos of Gavin playing snowballs with her, and photos of Gavin inserting maple leaves in her hair. All year round, spring, summer, autumn and winter, recording love and being loved. I took a deep breath and clicked on a video with shaking hands. Gavin gently called her Lily at the beach. The woman held Gavin's hand and asked softly, "Do you love me?" My husband of 7 years, the father of my unborn child, replied to her tenderly, "Gavin loves Lily the most in his life." I played this video nervously in the silence of the room, tears falling one by one. I sat alone until dusk. The room was dark. When Gavin came back, he complained to me softly, "Samantha, why didn't you turn on the light? It's so dark. What if you fall?" The room suddenly lit up, and I covered my red eyes. He squatted in front of me and took my hand. "Why are you still crying? Who made my big baby and little baby sad?" He called the little baby to kiss my belly. When I got closer, I smelled the sweet jasmine fragrance again. "Where did you go?" I asked calmly. "I was working overtime at the company." "What's wrong with you, wife? You lied. You went to Lily's place because she wanted to eat the famous sumai in the east of the city, and there was no delivery service. So you drove for more than an hour from the west of the city to the east. Lily broadcast it to me live." I laughed and held his hand. "Husband, my baby, I suddenly want to eat the famous sumai in the east of the city." I folded my hands and placed them on my belly. My child seemed to understand my sadness and kicked violently. "Can you go buy it?" Gavin's eyes flashed with impatience, and he pulled his hand back, looking irritable. "Ah, what's so good about that sumai? Besides, you're in your advanced stage now, so you should pay attention to your diet, for the sake of our son. Wife, please bear with it." Then he stood up and walked to the bathroom. "I'll take a shower first. I'm so tired today. You can call our mother to come and make you something to eat." I heard the bathroom door close. I swallowed the cry in my heart, stroked my belly and told my child, "Baby, you have to fight a tough battle with your mother." Gavin's phone flashed on the dining table. People who cheated never shy away from me. Do they think I'm really stupid? The sound of water in the bathroom sounded. I stood up with difficulty, holding my belly. The passwords of the mobile phones were all wrong, from the wedding anniversary to each other's birthdays. I entered the date of Lily's ultrasound examination with trembling hands. Unlocked successfully. I sneered and clicked on the storage space in the chat software. And sure enough, I found Lily's avatar in it. The two of them were clearly couple avatars, and one of them signed, "If the love is long-lasting, the other person is not in the morning and evening." Clicking on the dialog box, I looked at the full screen of "I miss you, baby," and calmly turned on the screen recording function. I opened Gavin's shopping software again. All of them were nutritional supplements, face creams, makeup, etc. that pregnant women need. The delivery address was a certain community. The recipients were all Lily, without exception. I calmed the restless child with one hand and took screenshots with the other. I sent all the files and videos to myself and deleted the records after making sure there were no loopholes. I put the phone back in its place and staggered back to the bedroom, lying on my side on the bed. My heart felt like there was a hole in it, and I was shivering from the cold. 7 years of marriage. Nothing but a joke. When Gavin came out of the shower, his cell phone rang. I saw from the crack of the bedroom door that he answered the phone with a gentle face, looked in the direction of the bedroom, walked to the balcony carefully, and closed the door. I stood up by the door and looked at him. No sound was heard, but the man lowered his head and smiled with tenderness. Probably what the person on the other end of the phone said made Gavin raise his eyebrows in embarrassment, but he quickly gave in and agreed with a smile. My heart felt very cold. I turned around and moved step by step to the bed. It was as if all the air in the bedroom had escaped, and I breathed hard. Suddenly, I heard Gavin walking in quietly. One hand was on my stomach, the other was arranging my forehead, and he told me softly, "Honey, there is a problem with a project in the company, and I have to go." I turned my head and looked at him deeply. "I feel a little uncomfortable. Can I not go?" At that moment, I even thought, if he stayed and didn't see that woman, I can try to forgive. But I forgot that a kite with a broken string cannot come back. As expected, the man was embarrassed to comfort me. "Wife, this project is related to the life and death of the company, and I have to go. Can I call my mother to come and stay with you?" I felt really sick and had goosebumps all over my body, but I still told him to pay attention to safety on the road. I lay quietly, watching him get dressed and leave the house. I held my stomach, slowly went downstairs and hailed a taxi. "Go to Jawa community." Taxi driver drove very fast. When we arrived at the community, we saw Gavin's car. I asked the driver to park the car behind the tree. Through the car window, I could clearly see Lily flying into Gavin's arms like a butterfly. Gavin gently caught her and placed his hand gently on the woman's flat belly. There was a gentle reproach on his face. He even raised his hand to scratch the bridge of the woman's nose. I stroked my tight belly with one hand and took out my phone with the other, switching to video mode. On the screen, the man raised his arm to carry the woman to the car, put on the seat belt considerately. I blinked my sore eyes. The taxi driver followed the car in front. The car climbed on the elevated road, and I looked up at the neon lights outside. My nail scratched the car window until it was torn. The sharp pain brought me back to my senses. I put the bleeding finger in my mouth and bit it hard. In the interlaced car shadows, I told myself again and again, "Samantha, bear with it, it won't hurt." When the car stopped at the provincial hospital, I scanned the code to pay. When I pushed the door and got out of the car, the taxi driver who had been silent all the time suddenly turned around and said, "Girl, look at it more positively. For the sake of the baby in your belly, don't hurt yourself." I didn't tell anyone since I knew Gavin cheated, but this matter is like the most vicious poison. It has killed me countless times. The care of strangers made me stick my head out of the mud and breathe fresh air. I closed the door gently and replied with a smile, "Uncle, it's okay. No one can hurt me because I plan to throw the garbage into the trash can." I hid behind the pillars and watched Gavin, who had not accompanied me for a checkup during my entire pregnancy due to his busy work, running around to register and get medicine. He cared for the woman in and out, just like a perfect husband. It turned out that being busy at work was just an excuse. He just didn't want to spend time on his wife who was having the 7-year itch. In the hall where people came and went, Gavin gently embraced the woman and told her again and again, "The doctor told you to eat less and move more at night. It's easy to have poor digestion in early pregnancy, so you must be obedient this time, okay? The woman twisted her body and acted coquettishly. Oh, I remember it. It's all your fault. Who told you to buy so many sumai? Okay, it's all my fault. It's all my fault that I bought too much and made my baby eat too much, okay? Ah, that's better. Then I will forgive you without any difficulty. Like a real couple, noisy but intimate. Only I, under the pale light of the hospital, was like a shameless peeping Tom. I held my belly and moved out of the hospital step by step. It was raining outside. The autumn wind and the autumn rain seemed to cool the world. In the hazy rain and fog, I saw Gavin carefully covering the woman with his clothes. He carefully protected her and sat in the passenger seat. The woman looked up, pulling Gavin's tie for a kiss as if she couldn't wait. My husband held another woman's face with both hands and kissed her passionately in the rain. Afterwards, he scratched the woman's nose coquettishly. The other party was even more arrogant and pulled the tie again, biting him hard on the lips. He didn't get angry and got into the car contentedly. When the car was about to leave, the woman lowered a side window. She looked at me provocatively. Samantha, you lose. I smiled and shook my head. It's okay, Samantha, just a man. I even waved to the woman as the car was about to turn. Gavin, I don't want it anymore. I'm giving it to you. I stood under the porch of the hospital and calmly sent all the evidence to my senior sister, a famous divorce lawyer. I want the best interests of my children. After doing these things, the rain had already wet the hem of my skirt. When I put down my phone, the ringtone happened to ring. It's Mom. Samantha, I made soup and brought it to your home. Where were you and Gavin? Not at home anyway. Oh, it's true that Gavin is still taking you out to run around when you're only a month old. This is the time when you should be most careful. Hearing my mother's voice, the grievance in my heart grew into a towering tree in an instant. I bit my lip and forced the sobs back into my lungs. It was so painful to endure that my whole body was trembling. Mom, don't worry so much. He and I are having a big dinner outside. Oh, I'll be careful. Gavin is right next to me. I'm afraid I won't be able to help crying. It's raining. Go home slowly. Send me a text message when you get home. I hurriedly picked up the phone and took a deep breath. I pressed with all my strength but still cried in the rain. I held my belly, which was hurting in the 3rd trimester of pregnancy, and stood alone in a crowded hospital. I shed all the tears in my life. Gavin didn't come back all night. There was only one text message. Samantha, I have to work overtime until late today and will sleep in the company. It's raining and the temperature is dropping. Don't sleep with the window open. I love you forever, husband. I read the text message expressionlessly and was too lazy to type a reply. I used to think I was the happiest person in the world because I had the best husband in the world. Now it seems that people's hearts are separated from their stomachs, and the paper is full of nonsense. Soon, I received the divorce agreement drafted by my senior sister. I printed it out and signed it. When I was packing up to move to my mother's house, I received a strange call. It was Lily. I went to the cafe downstairs. Lily sat opposite with a calm face, holding a shopping bag from the supermarket. The woman who was 3 months pregnant crossed her legs and stepped on thin high heels, looked at me with a smug look and said, I thought you wouldn't come. After all, you never replied to me on WeChat. I smiled and said, why wouldn't I come? I didn't do anything shameful that needs to be hidden. Besides, Gavin and I are a legal couple. We can be open and honest with each other. Unlike some people who pretend to be a third party, they are still a third party. You, what do you mean? But I still have to thank you for sending me the evidence of Gavin's cheating. Otherwise, it would not be easy for me to collect this evidence myself. I raise my hand again to interrupt Lily. So this cup of coffee is my treat. I put the cash at the bottom of the cup and slowly stood up with my stomach. What do you mean? Lily gritted her teeth and grabbed my hand. It means that I don't want that cheap man anymore. If you want it, just take it. What tricks are you playing again? She snapped, shaking my hand off fiercely. The force was too great, and I staggered backward. The moment I fell to the ground, my stomach felt like a hole had been dug by a knife. The pain made me spasm uncontrollably. When blood gushed out from my lower body, I screamed in fear. "Save my child!" Watching Lily flee in panic, I calmly asked the clerk to call the emergency number. When I was carried to the ambulance, the blood had soaked my skirt. My consciousness began to fade. In a daze, I heard the nurse asking for my mobile phone password. After unlocking the phone, the medical staff made 6 calls to the emergency contact in the address book. My husband. The last time finally connected. "Hey Samantha, something happened at the company. An emergency meeting is being held now. I'll call you back later," came the neat reply before the line went dead. But I still heard Lily's cry in the background. I avoided the nurse's sympathetic eyes and calmly wiped the blood off my hands and clothes. With trembling hands, I took the phone and called my mother. "Mom, I'm going to give birth," I told her calmly. "Don't worry, listen to me. Go home, get my ID card and delivery bag, and take a taxi to the provincial hospital. Next, you do whatever the doctor tells you to do." "I'm fine, Mom, don't worry." The moment the phone was hung up, I was finally defeated by the endless pain and screamed. Cold sweat slid down like water. As my consciousness sank into the abyss, I used up my last bit of strength to grab the emergency doctor's hand and said, "You must save my child. I can't lose this child again." My consciousness kept fluctuating. Sometimes I seemed to hear my mother crying, and sometimes the doctor calmly urged the blood bag to catch up. When a trace of cold touch passed through my abdomen, I vaguely saw my past self under the cold white surgical light. At that time, Gavin and I had just graduated from college. We were very poor, renting the cheapest basement to save money. We'd cook in the narrow corridor, no matter how late we got off work. Just a bowl of boiled noodles and water, and the 2 of us were satisfied. At that time, I had only looked at a dress a few more times because I passed by a store. Gavin skipped breakfast for 2 consecutive months to buy me that dress. I yelled at him, distressed. "If you don't eat breakfast, what if you get hungry? Are you stupid? Besides, what am I going to wear such an expensive dress for?" He hugged me and vowed, "My Samantha deserves the best things in the world. I will work hard to make money and buy you the best things." Later, he rose to higher positions and bought me more and more luxury goods, but none of them could compare to that dress. Later, the man who said he loved me had another woman in my days. Felt so sad. When tears rolled down, I heard a strange and loud cry of a baby. My heart seemed to be filled with softness. I tried to open my eyes and asked with a sob, "Is the baby okay?" "Don't worry, expectant mother, the little princess is very healthy," came the reply. At that moment, I finally closed my eyes with peace of mind. I smelled disinfectant. I broke free from the dense darkness and opened my eyes to see my mother's red eyes. Before she could speak, her tears began to flow. "My Samantha has suffered." I touched her flat belly and looked at her anxiously. The petite child lay in her arms, beautiful and peaceful like an angel. "The child is here. You and your mother are lucky." "God bless you," she said gently, placing the child next to me. "But the doctor also said that you have suffered a lot this time and lost a lot of blood. You must take good care of yourself in the future. Pay attention to the healing of the wound, and don't get tired." She deliberately avoided talking about Gavin. Her daughter had a near-death experience, but her son-in-law was out of contact all night. My mother has always been a smart person. I kissed my daughter's fingers carefully and told her mother calmly, "I plan to divorce Mom, Gavin." She held my hand, distressed tears falling down. "Samantha, don't say it. Mom knows everything my daughter has suffered. After you went into the operating room last night, Mom kept calling that bastard, and no one answered until the phone was turned off. I thought he was busy with work. It was not until you and your mother came out of the operating room and I saw Gavin when I checked you in. He was accompanying a woman for a physical examination. If you hadn't just come back from the gates of hell and needed Mom would have wanted to rush up and kill a couple." I held Mom's hand to comfort her. I felt extremely peaceful in my heart. My mother raised me alone. She looks weak, but her heart is extremely strong. No matter how old I grow in her eyes, I am a little girl who needs her protection. Samantha, Mom can raise you alone and can also help you raise your daughter. So just do what you want to do, don't tell your mom. You see, I still have a mom who loves me. After losing Gavin, my world won't change drastically. I'm just a man. In the evening, Gavin finally showed up. He hurriedly pushed open the door of the ward. Samantha, how do you feel now? He knelt straight in front of the bed and slapped himself loudly. I am a bastard. I couldn't be with you when you gave birth. You can hit me or scold me. There was indeed an emergency at the company at that time, and then the phone ran out of battery and turned off. I watched the man's performance coldly. I interrupted him in annoyance. A divorce, Gavin. A divorce, why? Not that bad, Samantha. Listen to me and explain to you. There was indeed an incident at the company last night, so I really didn't have the strength. So I just got straight to the point. Lily, 29 years old, lives in Jawa community, 3 months pregnant. You accompanied her to the hospital for a checkup last night. Gavin, you cheated on me. I think it's dirty. The man looked at me in horror. His face turned pale in an instant. He pulled my hand in panic. Samantha, I was obsessed for a while. I never thought about divorce. I was going to break up with her, but she told me she was pregnant. I couldn't help it. After all, it's a life. Samantha, you have to believe me. I always love you. What a coincidence. At this moment, Mom returned to the ward with her daughter, who had just had her blood drawn. Gavin was like seeing a life-saving straw. Wife, besides we have a child. Please forgive me once for the sake of the child. My mother avoided his hand that was about to hold the child and placed the child safely beside me. Then she calmly raised the stool at hand and smashed it on Gavin's head. Gavin jumped to dodge, and the stool finally landed on his shoulder. Silently, my mother raised the stool for the second time, and Gavin ran away screaming with his head in his arms. The stool flew out and hit the door. It was a deafening sound. In the following days, Gavin always hovered outside the door secretly. Sometimes he even teased his daughter through the glass. After my mother smashed another thermos, I asked her to take the baby out to bask in the sun. I let Gavin enter the ward. Gavin had lost a lot of weight, and his cheeks were sunken. Samantha, please forgive me for the sake of the child. I, Gavin, swear that I will never do anything to let Samantha down again. Really, Samantha, believe me. When we are old, this incident will only be a small episode in our long life. I recovered well and could stand up by leaning against the head of the bed. Looking at Gavin's self-righteous expression, I just felt sick. I told him word by word, Gavin, I have evidence of your affair with that woman. Transfer records and electronic bills. If you don't agree to an agreement for divorce, then we can only meet in court. The man's arrogance disappeared instantly, and he grabbed my hand in panic. Samantha, I am a bastard. I cheated and I deserve to die. I deserve to die 1,000 times or 10,000 times. But my wife, we have a daughter now. You can't let her be born without a father. Give me a chance, I will change. I will really change this time. I pulled my hand back little by little with a firm attitude. There is no chance because I think you are dirty. I raised my hand to interrupt his rebuttal. If I remember correctly, you have been competing for the position of regional general manager recently. If you make a big fuss about the divorce at this time, what do you think the people in the company will think of you? The person who always paid the most attention to etiquette knelt on the ground and cried loudly. I told him calmly amid the loud slaps. I have signed the divorce agreement and put it in the study. Sign it quickly. My mother will be back soon. You know her temper. If you don't want to be beaten again, leave quickly. In the next few days, I rested well in the hospital. After being discharged, I moved directly into the confinement center. The center has strict visitor records, and the burly security guard stopped Gavin, who broke in. I had a rare moment of peace and quiet, until one day I received a package. It was a beautifully wrapped gift box. I took it with joy. guessing it was a gift from a friend to her daughter. Carefully unwrapping it, I untied the pink ribbon and tore off layer after layer of gift paper. After opening the lid, a pungent smell of blood came out. I heard the scream of the confinement nanny behind me, then the cry of my daughter who was awakened by fear. I calmly asked the confinement nanny to carry my daughter away. I exhaled with a trembling body. When I heard the door close, I gritted my teeth and stared at the things in the box. A baby rabbit, a dead baby rabbit. The snow-white fur had been dyed red by blood. I held my breath and called Gavin. The man came quickly, pushing open the door and looking at me cautiously. "Samantha, you are finally willing to see me." I raised my hand to interrupt him, indicating for him to look at the gift box on the table. After a long time, I heard the man's gloomy voice. "Who sent it? Who else could it be? Course it was your lover, Gavin. My daughter was only 16 days old and received such a vicious curse. You are the father of the child. You cannot love her, but you must not bring disaster to her. I will get the divorce agreement this afternoon. Otherwise, I will go to the court to sue directly tomorrow." Calmly, I watched the man I loved for many years, the one I thought I would grow old with. But in the end, he betrayed me in the most despicable way. The end of a marriage turned out to be a mess. But I wanted to thank Lily so that I could use her power to force Gavin again. The following days passed peacefully and calmly. I listened to my mother and took a good rest. When the weather was fine, I held my daughter on the balcony to bask in the sun. The moment the sun shone on my body, I suddenly decided to name my daughter Daisy. I hoped my child would be like the first ray of sunshine in the morning, warm but not dazzling, always having the courage to start again. I asked my mother for her opinion with sparkling eyes. "Daisy, what a good name." She happily picked up her little grandson. "My little Daisy must accompany your mother like the sun." I saw my mother turn her head and secretly wipe her tears. She always felt sorry for me and felt that her daughter had suffered 1,000 grievances. I comforted her. "Mom, I feel fine now. When I first learned that Gavin had cheated, I was so sad that I couldn't breathe and my heart was aching. I couldn't sleep all night, wondering if I had done something wrong. Later I figured it out. It's not that I'm bad. Some people are born cheap. They will never settle down in one room. I used to think he loved me honestly because he didn't have the conditions to cheat. Later he became successful in his career and had enough conditions. Sooner or later this day would come. Rather than knowing it a few years later, it's better to cut the Gordian knot now, while the children are young and ignorant." I stood up easily, opened my arms and hugged my mother and my children. I exhaled with satisfaction. "Now that you are by my side, I am very happy every day." The next day, I received Gavin's divorce agreement. He made another change in the property division column. Gavin assigned all the real estate to me. I signed happily. I didn't stop Gavin from seeing the child, so almost every day, Gavin would take time to hug my daughter. Various toys also flowed into the house. When my daughter was 1 month old, the man excitedly gave her a gift, a gold lock. He hugged the child, kissed her again and again, and even shed tears. My mother was very happy. She pulled me and whispered, "Is Samantha observed for a while? If he really repents, you should forgive him for Daisy's sake." I lowered my head and sneered. Dogs can't change their eating habits, right? Sure enough, after spending a few minutes with my daughter, Gavin's phone rang. I looked at the 2 words, "Lily," jumping happily on the screen. The man looked at me with embarrassment. "Answer it. What if there is an emergency?" The moment the phone was picked up, Lily's cry came over. "Gavin, where are you? I suddenly have a stomach ache. There is also bleeding in my lower body. What should I do? Gavin, is it possible that we can't keep our child?" The man anxiously comforted her. "It's okay, Lily, just sit still. I'll be back soon." Gavin didn't even have time to say goodbye to his daughter. He left in a hurry. I was terribly calm in the midst of my mother's angry scolding. I was just waiting for another opportunity. An opportunity for revenge. I smiled and raised my cup of coffee, taking a slow sip. "So, this cup of coffee is my treat," I said, watching the confusion flicker across Lily's face. She clearly hadn't expected me to be so composed, so unshaken. "You're not even mad?" she asked, narrowing her eyes. "You're just going to let Gavin go like that?" I leaned back in my chair, folding my hands over my belly. "Oh, Lily," I said softly. "I'm not letting him go. I'm setting myself free." She scoffed, crossing her arms. "That's such a cliché. What are you going to do, cry over him forever?" I shook my head, still smiling. "No, I'm not going to cry over him at all. You see, I've already won." She blinked at me, stunned. "Won? What are you talking about?" I tilted my head slightly, letting her squirm in her own confusion for a moment before I answered. "You wanted him. You chased him. You even got pregnant with his baby. But here's the thing, Lily, you didn't win me. And I'm the only prize in this game that matters." Her face flushed red, but I kept going, my voice calm and steady. "You wanted to take my husband, my life, my happiness. But all you've done is hand me the tools to walk away with everything intact. Except him. I've got my daughter, my mother, my dignity, and yes, even our house. Gavin. He's got nothing but a mess he can't clean up." I leaned forward slightly, my eyes locking onto hers. "You wanted to beat me. But you never even understood the game. I didn't need to fight you. I just needed to stop holding on to something that was already rotten. And now you get to keep it. Congratulations." Lily opened her mouth, then closed it again. She looked like she wanted to scream or cry or slap me. But I just sat there, calm and still, like the storm had already passed. Finally, she stood up, knocking over her chair. "You think you're better than me," she hissed. "No," I said gently. "I think I know my worth. And you don't." She stormed out of the cafe, the shopping bag from the supermarket swinging wildly in her hand. I watched her go, then took another sip of my coffee. The waitress came by and refilled my cup. "That was intense," she said quietly. I laughed softly. "No, it wasn't. It was just the end of something that should have ended a long time ago." The next day I got a call from my sister, the divorce lawyer. Gavin had signed the agreement without a fight. The house was mine. The money was mine. And as for him, he was gone, quietly fading into the background like the bad dream he'd become. A week later I got a message from him. "Thank you," it said, "for letting me go." I didn't reply. A month after the divorce was finalized, I got a letter. No return address. Just a small envelope with a single photo inside. It was Gavin and Lily, standing outside a tiny apartment. They looked tired, defeated, and Lily's belly was flat. I didn't feel anything. Not sadness, not anger, not even relief. Just nothing. I tucked the photo into a drawer and walked out onto the balcony, where my daughter was sleeping in her stroller, wrapped in a soft pink blanket. The sun was rising, casting a golden glow over everything. I picked her up and held her close, breathing in the scent of her tiny head. She stirred slightly, then snuggled into me with a soft sigh. "Daisy," I whispered, kissing the top of her head. "Mommy's here. And nothing's ever going to hurt you." She opened her eyes, my eyes, and looked at me. And for the first time in a long time I felt like the future was mine to shape. Not Gavin's. Not Lily's. And I was just getting started.